Fearing the potential loss of human civilization to external threats, the United Earth government ordered the creation of a vast mobile colony to carry mankind to distant stars. During the later stages of the war with the Covenant, the ship that became the UNSC Infinity had its mandate changed, and it became a military vessel. The Titanic ship required vast amounts of material and manpower for its construction in the Oort cloud at Special Assembly Plant Concord, shrouded in secrecy by the Office of Naval Intelligence. This pushed Earth to its limits at a time when efforts may have been better spent on colonial defense, but the vital nature of its secret mission was deemed more important. Despite being completed and launched ahead of schedule, the Infinity arrived too late to have an impact on the Human Covenant War, and was the only ship of its class to be completed. During the tumultuous period that followed, it acted as the flagship of the UNSC Navy, ferrying diplomats to interspecies peace talks and exploring the galaxy. At over 5.5 kilometers in length, the Infinity class was the largest ship ever designed and built by humanity, but still paled in comparison to some of its Covenant contemporaries. It incorporated technology and manufacturing techniques decades ahead of their time, and even integrated Covenant and Forerunner technologies. The vessel's massive hull was clad in 4.9 meter thick titanium A3 battleplate, and it was the first human ship to incorporate defensive energy shields. These defenses combined to make the vessel extremely resilient and, alongside its enormous bulk, allowed it to ram through smaller opponents without taking a scratch. The ship's bridge was located within a combined command section in its prow, which also housed a flag bridge, the captain's ready room, and 2 combat information centers. These were kept up to date on the battlefield by a highly advanced sensor and holographic imaging suite based on Forerunner technology. It utilized a combination of shipboard sensors and imaging drones to produce hyper-accurate real-time imagery for display on holotanks such as the holotable on the bridge. For longer ranges, a hyperscanner and luminary were enclosed within the aft sensor array mounted above the engines. Both systems were yet more new technologies to human vessels, based on the units installed on Covenant warships, though the luminary was in fact originally a Forerunner device intended to scan for and identify other Forerunner artifacts. All sensor systems were complemented by 16-channel slipspace wavecom data links for superluminal communications. Befitting the class's origins as a mobile colony, it was built to be almost entirely self-sufficient, and had many facilities and crew comforts that were atypical for military vessels, all linked together via a high-speed tram network. A vast domed atrium, which sat atop the vessel's dorsal surface, contained a memorial park with a self-contained biosphere full of various flora and fauna, as well as garden plots and activity centres for the crew. There were multiple training areas for the ship's huge complement of personnel, including the second largest simulation and test environment within the human sphere. The virtual reality combat deck was capable of recreating real and imagined environments from across the galaxy, using a blend of holography, props, and simulated sensory inputs. A state-of-the-art science deck, provided by the Office of Naval Intelligence and the Watershed Division, had multiple fully equipped laboratories and research facilities, housed just beneath the interlinks for the class's city-sized engine module. This enormous creation took 15 years to build and test, and consisted of 4 elements: the primary XR2 Boglin Fields fusion drive, a pair of secondary repulsor engines, and a Forerunner translight engine. This was built around a recovered Forerunner slipspace drive core. It was completely independent from the ship's main fusion power plants due to being able to draw directly upon foaming vacuum energy. The vessel's slipspace navigation system was refined with Huragok assistance, which pushed final construction milestones ahead of schedule. The Infinity's armament was truly formidable. Its primary weapons were a quartet of bow-mounted CR-03 Series 8 magnetic accelerator cannons, each with a near 27-meter bore and capable of firing a variety of standard kill packages, cargo pods, or even small spacecraft. These were upgraded during a refit in 2558 to CR-03Bs, alongside a number of other weapon systems and prefabricated units that were intended for the UNSC Eternity, the incomplete second ship of the class. A multitudinous array of smaller magnetic accelerator guns, missile launchers, and point defense weapons covered the ship. To back up this powerful armament, several Havoc tactical nuclear weapons were carried aboard, with warheads that were small enough to be deployed via missile or on foot by one of the ship's significant complement of troops. This was made up of an entire Marine Expeditionary Division and an ODST drop battalion, as well as Army and Air Force personnel, all assigned into 5 independent task forces. There was also an entire deck given over to the hundreds of Spartan 4s stationed on the vessel, under the leadership of Commander Sarah Palmer. These troops could be deployed from one of several hundred hangars and launch bays. The primary hangars were located on the ventral surface, with a heavy equipment intra-ship transport hub nearby. The bottom of the ship also housed reinforced dropship decks and 10 large internal sub-vessel deployment bays forward of the primary hangars. From these, the Infinity could deploy its own fleet of Attendant Trident and Anlace class frigates. Representing a significant departure from traditional UNSC designs, the Anlace class light frigate was among the smallest ships in service with the UNSC Navy at only 372 meters in length, and had a number of adaptations for atmospheric flight. These consisted of a lifting body hull, with a number of concessions made for aerodynamics, as well as maneuvering systems designed for intra-atmosphere operations. Its armament was focused entirely on directed energy weaponry, allowing for sustained combat operations away from resupply. Its primary weapon was a turreted Helios high-energy laser installed on the ship's aft dorsal surface, supported by 4 Magna 320 pulse lasers and 8 point defense laser arrays. With high-definition sensors and modular equipment packs, Anlace-class frigates were specialized for a support role in the fleet, providing a small, fast platform for reconnaissance and disruption. When fully equipped with an electronic warfare suite, these ships could mask the presence of other friendly vessels or prevent communications between disparate elements of an opposing force. Setting up a large-scale spectrum jamming blanket over an entire planet only required 2 such ships. The second deployable subvessel was the Trident-class heavy frigate, another late-war design that acted as a testbed for streamlined manufacturing techniques. Tridents were lean and lethal warships with enough firepower to straddle the line between frigate and destroyer, though the requirements for speed and agility meant it was only lightly armoured. However, the class had waveguide channels and emitter-based sockets ready to accept integration of large-scale defensive energy shields, which were not yet ready for installation at the time of the ship's introduction. Each vessel had a cutting-edge combat management system with a data core for a smart AI that handled target detection, tracking, evaluation, and generated firing solutions. The crew used this data to set priority targets and authorized weapons fire. A Mark IV magnetic accelerator cannon was the ship's main gun, giving it firepower on par with the destroyers or even light cruisers, though the small size of the ship limited the amount of ammunition it could carry. This was complemented by a Hyperion missile silo containing 3 nuclear missiles for use on strategic targets, but the sheer size of each missile meant that they took several minutes to load and fire. When used together, these 2 weapon systems were capable of defeating Covenant capital ships, assuming they had their shields disabled. The Trident's secondary armament was a set of 5 Castor naval coil guns, which could fire a variety of ammunition, including experimental shield-piercing rounds. 3 of the Castor turrets were so-called quick-shot variants, each mounting an additional pair of Arena point defense guns. Quad-mount Rampart point defense guns filled out the defensive armament of the ship, with each turret able to evaluate threats and engage targets with either sub-caliber armor-piercing saber rounds or proximity detonation fragmentation shells. While the class typically did not carry expeditionary troops, they still had drop pod bays and an internal hangar sealed by a small energy shield. Booster frames or a single Pelican could be deployed from the hangar, and 3 more Pelicans could be carried on external clamps. Upon its introduction in 2549, the Trident was considered the new apex of combat frigate design, and it was usually paired with larger vessels to provide fire support and tactical flexibility. This made the frigate a perfect counterpart for the Infinity, alongside the smaller Anlace class. Together, the Infinity and its frigates protected human interests across the Orion Arm, though the vessel's capabilities were put to the test after the discovery of a forerunner device known as the Composer on Installation 03. This led to the Shield World Requiem and the awakening of the Didact, who used the Composer to attack Earth with his personal flagship, Mantle's Approach. The powerful main guns of Infinity allowed Spartan John 117 to enter and plant a Havoc nuclear weapon, destroying the Forerunner ship. Nearly 2 years later, Infinity faced its greatest challenge in the face of the Guardians, under the control of Cortana, whose vast power forced the ship to retreat from both Sanghelios and Earth. Sometime later, a daring attack on Installation 07 was launched to attempt to lock down Cortana and end her subjugation of the galaxy. Unfortunately, Atriox's Banished were already there and ambushed the Infinity, mortally wounding mankind's greatest warship in a matter of minutes. With the Infinity presumed lost and the Eternity yet to be completed, the UNSC and humanity was left without their strongest weapons in a time where new threats were being revealed.